And hello everybody, welcome back. It's been a little while. It's time for some more racing. This time last week we headed to Azerbaijan for round 4. And well, tonight, who knows where we're heading? It's a mystery. It's completely unknown, but what isn't unknown is the man who's alongside me. It's the one, the only, it's the one who was alongside me this time 7 days ago. Domsy, how are we?
Yeah, I'm good. It's my second not engineering, commentating stint in a row now. So yeah, how are you today, Byron?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Just recovering from tonsillitis. What a way to throw yourself back into it. Get into some commentary once again. We got a great race ahead of us tonight. But firstly, let's have a little look at where we are in terms of that calendar. We alluded to it. We've just had round 4. We're going into round 5. Then we've got the Netherlands, Belgium, Qatar, Las Vegas, a further mystery round like tonight, and then Hungary and Japan. And in terms of those all-important standings, ET8 still out on top with CPI there, close behind, 22-point gap there. Exeter in third there with 113, TF10 110, TTM 106, really close between those three teams. Then 70 for Grand Truck 10, Iberia Racing on 41, IRT on 39, 37 for Visio, and Optimum Velocity Racing on 31. So looking very close in the standings. ET8 obviously out in front just as it is, but a lot of room for change tonight, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, if we take a look currently as the lobby is currently, the CPI look to have a very strong lineup with Kay Gatkowski and ET8 Jamie. I mean, he's not ET8 anymore, he's at CPI, so I'm expecting them to do all right. Same with ET8, Renz Tomassen, and I cannot remember who the other one is, but they've also got a strong lineup. So, and it's a mystery track as well, so it's all to play for in this race. It's a very strong grid today. I think much stronger than where it was last week. So I am expecting teams to come out of nowhere and really just set their pace alight.
Well, I can confirm that the track we're heading to is the Bahrain International Circuit. 15 turns, 3.362 miles, 3 DRS zones, and plenty of overtaking opportunities. Turn 1, Turn 4, Turn 10, and Turn 14, your main overtaking opportunities, but plenty of places to sling a move down the inside if you're feeling a little bit daring. But qualifying is already firmly underway here at the Bahrain International Circuit, and as the drivers begin to head out onto that circuit, I mean, you mentioned that the CPI look like they've got a strong lineup today. Looking at that grid as things stand, who else do you think maybe looks like they're in a good position tonight?
Aversio as well. I mean, they have been on the back foot so far within the early stages of the season with Jerome and Finley. Finley, who's been at the team since it was called X back in the day, and Jerome, who joined since the closure of WR esports. And Jerome, it has been really promising on F123 and on this game as well. So also IRT, pretty good lineup. GT10 also having a strong lineup as well. TTM, yeah, I think it's still. We might see a few teams just come out of nowhere, like TF10 for example, and ILD as well.
Absolutely. Wow. As you begin to get the start of this qualifying session underway, do let us know your predictions in that YouTube chat. I want to hear what you guys think is going to happen over the course of the next hour and a half or so. I mean, we've got such a good time ahead of us here. I mean, so many teams to keep an eye on. It's going to be really, real difficult to keep your focus on everything that's going on tonight. But, whew, take that little bit of a breather because, well, we're not going to get many of them over the course of this one because such a good track to overtake at. It's going to be difficult to, you know, get to the end of this one without losing our breath.
Yeah, of course, Bahrain has got 3 DRS zones and an extra fourth straight going into those final 2 corners, which is practically 1 corner. We've got loads of drivers going on their out laps. We've got Rens Tomassen and Kay Gatkowski already on their laps. So, yeah, just loads of overtaking opportunities, as you've mentioned. Yeah, just excited for the race for this one, but qualifying is equally as exciting as well. As also, as I've said previously, uh, drivers might be faster in qualifying compared to their race pace. For me personally, I'm more of a race pace kind of person, but these drivers might be different. They might be the same. So yeah, let's take a look at some of the drivers out. I think first currently out is Rens Tomassen, I believe, and Kay Gatkowski as well. Rens Tomassen going into that third DRS straight, as I've mentioned earlier, going into the left-hand corner, which you have to be in gear 5 in for the most pace as possible. Ride as much of that curb as possible as well. That gains a little bit of time. Going through here, make sure you hit that apex. It's a purple sector too, but of course he is the first person to even set a lap, so pretty much expected. Into the final corner here, brake just after the 100-meter board, just before the 50-meter board, around 70 meters before the actual corner. Take as much of that exit as possible, make sure not to invalidate through there. Opens the DRS one final time, and it's the 1:26.4 for Rens Tomassen.
Yeah, and immediately then Gatkowski sets his lap time, and that's very close between them as ETA Azam there also goes up into second place. And, well, we've got a real good grid on our hands tonight. So much talent across this amazing grid. It's going to be really interesting to see kind of everything that we're able to get out of this one. It's going to really be a difficult one to read. So much talent in this lineup as TTM Wiener up to the top of the timesheets. And wow, what a lap time from him! A 1:26.488. Really, you know, only a bit faster than Rens Tomassen, but you know, it's a real good thing to see these lap times so close to each other. Only a couple thousandths separating the first few drivers. It's going to be a real interesting qualifying session. We have got 30 minutes left in this session, so plenty of time to get plenty of runs in, as there's still quite a few drivers on lap times. Noticing that Jamie's on a run at the moment. I'm wondering if he's going to be setting anything too, you know, good. But it doesn't seem like he's pushing on too hard on this lap. But, you know, be interesting to see, you know, a couple drivers invalidating their first runs. But overall, a good start to this qualifying session, it seems.
Yeah, I mean, we can start to see some of the faster drivers across this track. TTM doing pretty well with provisional pole as it stands. I mean, Flopman isn't here this week as he did dominate qualifying in Azerbaijan, getting, I believe, 2 tenths faster than everybody else last race. He's not here today, but ET8 being consistently up there as they have been for majority of this season. So yeah, also Aversio, Finley in 5th position and Jerome in 12th. So Aversio not doing terribly either. Maybe they can get back into this fight once again after a not so lucky, first couple of races. We are coming up to the break week, so the break week is a very good chance for the teams to regroup and really just review how their season has gone so far and see what their next steps forward should be. But most teams going back into the pits now. Only a couple of drivers on their current lap. I think they're on their in laps though. Maybe IRT Sayeb, I think is how you pronounce that, might be on a lap. Not fully sure though. But what do you think so far of the qualifying session?
I mean, it's great to see ETA and TTM so high up the order as things stand, but noticing that Karumi's about to begin a hot lap here for Exeter Racing, I believe. EXT, as now he'll begin his hot flying lap here. They've been known to have some good qualifying performances, not necessarily translate into races. There's a lock up there, straight into turn number 1, now through turn 2 and 3, and then we head up here and towards the end of Sector 1. It's such a short lap around here as now we'll really begin to get some of the more aggressive corners as we go through turn 5 and 6. This is a real slalom section here. You have to be really careful with your throttle and braking as we go through here into turn number 8. A good opportunity to sling one down the inside if you've got the pace and performance. Karumi's looking good though. It's a purple Sector 1 as we go through the start of this lap with him. Now, as we move through Sector 2, that DRS straight will open, the DRS flap, sorry, will open nice and wide there as we head down this third DRS straight of the lap. And as we go up through Sector 2 and up the hill, again, a tricky corner, especially towards the start of the game. A lot of people spin there, but not going to be happening at this stage in the game cycle. And now, as we go through and through that final sector, going to be interesting to see what Karumi can put together and what kind of lap time that's going to be. A purple Sector 1, a green Sector 2, and well, that Sector 3 could prove crucial as now Karumi up to the line and goes 11th place. So not where they would have wanted to go at all, but a sign that the pace is there. Absolutely no doubt about that one.
Well, on my screen you got purple Sector 1 and purple Sector 2, so looked like it was a really good lap for him, but maybe the game just lied to us once again.
He was
Yeah,
times
P11
off.
for him. Yeah,
3.
but P11, we have got a couple more drivers out again. I think that's ETA, Azam and Renz both on laps. Same with loads of other drivers further down the order. I think someone has just set a lap. I do not know who that is. I think that was Nam who got to 13th place. So it's nice and consistent for the EXT team, 11th and 13th, but of course not really the best of positions to line up. We've got some Renz Tomassen, I think, going onto the third DRS straight here in Sector 2 after the windy section. Make sure to brake nearly at the 50-meter board, but not quite there. The driver ahead in the Aston Martin does get off the track to make sure he's not impeding him. Goes into that Sector 2 split. It is slightly improving by 0.07 of a second, but it's still to play for. Use the ERS as DRS will be activated on the next straight. Brake here after the 100-meter board, around 70 meters, as I've mentioned before. Going into the final straight, it looks like he will not be finishing that lap, and he will be going back into the pits. But ETA Azam as well, he's on a quick one. Can he make it to provisional pole and ahead of his teammate? Using the ERS, he's going in as well. Finley has invalidated, and Ghost King is on an improvement, 0.3 up, which, as it stands, if it is actually 0.3 up, he would probably be put around P3, P4. But opening the DRS, one more,
Ooh!
and it's provisional pole.
Wow! That is unexpected. GT10 have pulled out a mad lap there as Damien Corelli also goes up to 6th place there. I was keeping an eye on my telemetry, looking at all the sector times coming in, and GT10 Acid there as well, going up into 9th place. So a real good start for GT10 of all teams in this qualifying session. I mean, a lot of the drivers there on that second run came in. Clearly, the track's not improving and ramping up as much as they might have thought. And, well, didn't make sense to set the lap time. But if your name is GT10 Ghost King, you are the laughing stock right now because you have just gone top of them all. That is quite the lap time.
Yeah, a very good lap time. Was not expecting that from the GT10 team. I think they're currently around 7th in the standings, if I'm not mistaken, so they need this race as well to get back into the groove of the championship. But that's a very good lap time and a very good baseline to improve on his final lap. I think that's everyone done with their laps on this specific run, so it looks like we might be waiting for the final runs. But Ghost King, very good lap to set a benchmark for all the other drivers to try and match. So I guess we'll just have to see how this goes.
I mean, a good improvement there from a couple of drivers there as Wiener goes back up to the top of the timesheets there by just over 1/10 of a second. I noticed that ET8, Jamie and Nick jumped both up to 7th. Jamie obviously ahead of Nick now as things stand, but then immediately TTM Wiener back up to the top of that timing sheet. And well, a 1:26.327, that could be a pole position type of lap. That's a real strong lap time there from him. Going to be really interesting to see if that holds up as well as he might have wanted it to.
Yeah, I mean, Wiener does take provisional pole. We have seen TTM in the past few races being really good in qualifying, but not as fortunate in the race. They definitely have one of the best quali paces on the grids. So excited to see how that does, but it hasn't correlated always to the best of results on track. Rens Thomassen has started a lap though, so would be interested to see how he does. He's probably one of the faster drivers out on track currently. Going through the first three corners, opens the DRS very smooth and consistent. Here, have to brake just after the 100-meter board. Slow down to gear 4. Make sure to take as much exit as possible. Use a little bit of ERS just to improve your straight line speed. It's a 1/10 improvement for Rens Thomassen, which might be good enough for a provisional pole going into this tight section of hairpins. There's one after the other here. Very good for overtaking. Definitely not this one though. Going too wide through here is almost suicidal. But going into the final DRS straight here. Here you have to brake after the 100-meter board in between 100 and 50. So just make sure gear 5 and be as quick as possible. Use that curb on the inside there and brake as soon as you're in line with that Pirelli board on the right. It's purple sector 2 for him. Onto the final straight. This one does not have DRS, but you can use loads of ERS to gain back that time. Braking here, making sure to get as much exit speed as possible and burn as much of your ERS left in the tank. And is that provisional pole? Yes, it is. It's a 26.2, which is a whole tenth faster than Wiener.
Yeah, what a lap time from him, as Azam's on a lap time as well, allegedly a purple sector 2 for him as well. But the purple sector 2 always seems to be a red herring in the game. It always likes to spit that out even if it's not true. And Azam doesn't seem to be on the biggest of improvements on his lap, and he'll come into the pit lane out the other end of it. I'm noticing Pablo is on a lap and could be might be selling this one onto the timing sheet, but has invalidated, so not actually going to be selling that one, unfortunately. So, as things stand, 3 minutes 30 left on the clock. Rens Thomassen in P1 as it stands, a 126.270. And then half a tenth behind is TTM Wiener. Then a surprise for GT10 Ghost King. Really doing a great job for them. And then Azam in fourth, but plenty of time for things to change. 3 minutes left on the clock. OVR Lucas, the first driver, out to begin the final runs as he is out on an out lap and will start a hot lap. Whether he finishes it or not is another question, but really interesting to see Lucas maybe being a little bit earlier, but could be getting held up here by ILD Mario.
Yeah, impeding has been a bit of a problem in this season. People think it's a false sense of security that because ghosting is on, you physically cannot impede. But you can still impede and you can block sight lines of drivers. It's happened to me multiple times before in races, not like these, but like WR and stuff like that. So yeah, but of course, Lucas on a lap, it is a 1/10 improvement for him personally. Loads of drivers going out of the pits now, trying to set the timing sheets alight here and trying to take that provisional pole away from Rens Thomassen. As I've mentioned previously, TTM have got really good quali pace compared to other teams, but not the best race pace. So, on board with Lucas here, he's probably going to be the first to finish a lap. He is only slightly faster than his previous lap, and so going to the final corner, braking after the 100-meter boards. Use that apex, but don't run fully over the apex because that can lose you loads of time with that raised curve. He's committing to finishing this lap though. Where's it going to be? It's a 1/10 improvement, and he stays where he is. So.
Yeah. That's really interesting because he's not got enough battery to attack for another lap. So he's really in a bit of a difficult situation. He could try back off, and recharge the battery a bit, see if he can have another push lap next time around. But he'd really have to push flat out on this lap. So probably not going to be worth doing, but noticing there's a lot of drivers about to begin their final laps now as Azam begins his final flying lap here. And it's going to be interesting to see how this qualifying session ends. There's a lot of drivers all about to come around for their final flying lap here of the Bahrain International Circuit.
I'd just like to mention as well, Renz Tomasson came out really late. I'm not sure if he'll be able to actually finish that out lap and even get onto a lap, because that was really late going out of the pits for him. And with how long out laps usually last, he might not make it to the line. But as you said, he is on a slightly improved lap going through this section of hairpins. Here, there is no visual braking zone. You just have to kind of guess it. Make sure not to lock up there. Very easy to lock up through that corner. Opening the DRS for the third DRS straight here, third and final DRS straight. He'll have access to on this lap. Braking as late as possible. Not the fastest I've seen so far on this session, but very quick nonetheless. Is that an improvement? It is a 2/10 improvement, and it is purple for the ET8's man. He's going into the final straight. The checkered flag is waved out. Lucas is the first one to take it, and Renz does actually manage to get to the line in time. But let's see where Azam can go. He is first, and he is only slightly behind his ET8 teammate in second position. So I'm excited to see where all the other teams will finish. Wiener as well on a lap. You've got the other McLaren driver of Nick improving to 5th position. The other Mercedes of Fleddy improving to 7th. The Williams going back into the pits. The other Williams, though, taking the line and going 10th. The Ferrari of Hegatkowski, I think that is. No, it was ETA Jamie. He moves up to 6th position. We've got the ILD man of Pablo Ortiz taking the line as well. He's not improving. And still a couple drivers left to finish their laps. Renz Tomasson, the final one to do so. He's the furthest behind everybody, but he's going into the last sector here, trying to be as quick as possible. Drivers retiring from the session. Renz Tomasson, though, he is on the final straight, trying to get as quick as possible, sending it through that final corner, trying to make sure his provisional pole is secure, but it is already secure, so he doesn't need to improve on it. But does he improve? He does not. He's only slightly behind. So that is your grid order of this Bahrain race, which is supposed to be mystery. But on pole position, it is Renz Tomasson, and ET8 secures a front row lockout with a 1-2. Wiener in third, Gatkowski in fourth, and I think second DTM is also in fifth. So, what do you think of this qualifying session so far? Who do you think can be some of the earlier winners here?
Well, Renz Tomasson on pole, you'd certainly got to say it's a good start for him in terms of his weekend. And Azam in second, real good start for ET8. They've got a real good chance of extending their championship lead. TTM, though, pretty on it. And as you said, CPI, amazing job from them as well. Really strong from them. Really interesting to see GT10 so high up the order. That's a real surprise to me. In fact, Ghost King, at the end of qualifying, still had the fastest Sector 3. So clearly there's something going on quite good over at GT10. And maybe it's going to, for maybe the first time in the season, have a couple people turning their eyes over, in their direction. And that is all good for them.
Yeah, very good. GT10 really surprising, as you've said. CPI also getting really high up there as well. We're just waiting for a lobby restart, I believe, if that rule's still a thing.
I believe it is indeed still a thing that we need to restart because of the ghosting settings. But
yeah,
Let's unpack that qualifying session. Welcome back. You can see our beautiful faces once again. I mean, that was qualifying. It was pretty action packed for 18 minutes worth, and it does mean we got a good pole sitter out of that one. We've got Renz Thomason at the top of the grid once again. But so many drivers as now the race does get underway for the first time. The Demolition Derby gets underway for the drivers. But for us, I think it's more important to have a little look at that qualifying and just kind of unpick that, because really GT10 I think is the team that surprised me the most out of all of that. It's so uncommon to see them up there quite in that fashion. You know, it really was really nice to see.
Yeah, very good. I mean, GT10, they haven't had the best of championships so far, but this can really help them get back into the race for the title here in competitive speed series. Just done with the lobby restart, so just have to lobby host has to set the grid, and we're over to lights out again. But CPI also doing well, fourth and sixth for them. ET812, so very good opportunity to really propel their championship into even further ahead of, I think, CPI and TTM, who were just behind, but they are now much further behind. So yeah, very good qualifying session, lots to unpack. But an even more exciting race session is about to begin, as we're just waiting for the lobby restart to be actually restarted. Just want to ask you, who do you think will win in this one, Byron?
Oh, I mean, I've seen quite a few of these drivers in different racing leagues and a lot of different places. I'm gonna put my bets on Gatkowski. He might be in fourth, but I still think he's got a real good shot and a good chance of making something quite good today out of this race. I think, you know, just because he's down there doesn't mean that he's going to be taking it nice and easy into turn one. I think he's going to be nice and aggressive, going to give us a really good race, I think.
Yeah, I mean we've seen the Polish driver be really quick on previous races. He's done a lot of the races for that CPI team. Also, new signing Jamie as well for his first race, I believe, for CPI. I'm not fully sure about that one though. So just excited to see how this race will pan out. Aversio, do you remember where they went? They're quite far behind in the championship. They really need this race if they want to get back in there before the break week. Yeah, as you said, GT10 doing really well. The French team really cooking in that qualifying session. So just excited to see how the race will pan out.
Absolutely, indeed. I mean, in terms of Aversio, I mean, you've got Finlay in 12th and Jerome 15th. You know, maybe not where they want to be. They've still got a good chance at some points, though, in this race. So, you know, like, there's a real good chance for so many of these teams. You know, looking at this grid, you know, the only teams that I'd say are quite down there is ILD. You know, they're 16th and 18th, but every other team they've got, you know, one car in the top 15, even if they've got one, you know, outside of it. I think OVR as well, maybe another team that's a little on the unlucky side in that qualifying session. They've only got 14th and 20th, but plenty of teams have done well and maybe exceeded where they want to be. So how does it pan out in the race? Do they slip behind maybe, or, you know, are they going to settle down in that place that they've qualified? It'll be really interesting to really unpick and see where everyone is. I mean, we got a real good race on our hands, no doubt about that one.
Yeah, very good race. As I've says at the beginning of the stream, very good grids this particular week. Um, both ET8s, very good, have been up there in previous league races, esports races, stuff like that. But I'm going to be keeping personally my eye on TTM. Maybe they can fight back in the race and really prove to the rest of the teams that they belong here. They have got that race pace to really compete with the front drivers. Yeah, just excited for this race to begin. Of course, the lobby restart just really delays things a lot, makes my bedtime a little bit later, but Yeah, it's unfortunate, but what can you do? The host has readied up, so I think we might be going into the race soon.
Indeed, and in terms of the championship standings as they are, ETA are on top, and they were in qualifying as well without 1-2, putting them in a real good stride for this one. However, just because they're 1-2 does not mean that'll be how it finishes. CPI, they line up on the grid in a very good and respective 4th and 6th. They're second in the championship with 143 points. Then Team Exeter with 113 points. They aren't quite as high up as they might want to be. And TF10 there in 4th place as things stand. So they've got quite a bit to do as well, but plenty of things to think about as we head into this one. No doubt about that one. As we've got a real good race on our hands in a couple of moments' time as the drivers begin to ready up. So let's have a little reminder about where we are today. Well, it is Season 4, Round 5. It is Bahrain. Thank you to Grip Finder and Sim Racing Centre, as always, for working with us at Competitive Speed Series. But here is the Bahrain International Circuit. 15 turns, 3.362 miles, 3 DRS zones, and plenty of overtaking opportunities. Your main overtaking opportunities, Turn 1, Turn 4, and turn 7, as well as turn 11 and 14. But there's so many overtaking opportunities here. You can really make a move anywhere, but be very wary of the lockups into turn number 10. We'll see plenty of those as we get underway in a couple of moments' time. The lobby is just getting set up, but let's head trackside. And he's not gone anywhere. Alongside me is Domsey for the race. And it's a good thing too, because my throat is probably going to hurt quite a lot come the end of it. But we've got a little moment before maybe the action and battling resumes on track. Just a little bit longer. You've already mentioned that you're keeping your eye on TTM. You think they might be a good team to watch. Who are you betting for this race win?
I'm just gonna have to say ETA. They have been showing really strong pace across the season, being very consistently getting wins, podiums, pole positions, stuff like that. Especially in last race where I'm pretty sure they won last time out, if I remember correctly. But yeah, they've been very consistent. They're probably gonna win this again. I'm putting my money on Rens Thomassen to take the checkered flag first today, but I'm expecting a double podium for ETA and possibly even a CPI driver or even a TTM driver getting up there, maybe even a GT10 driver, depending on how lucky they get. But just excited to see this pan out. All the drivers putting their setups and locking in their strategies now. So
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. It's going to be really interesting to see, so many great additions to this championship. So many teams have been with us since the beginning. Some have maybe joined us midway through or not even been with us until Season 4. And it's really interesting to just see all of these different teams and how they adapt to this, because it is slightly different from, maybe a different, racing league, right? So it'll be very interesting to see, as the season pans out, how do these teams evolve and progress, right? Because especially GT10, they've shown up this weekend, been a real good surprise, and that could happen to any other team at any point in the season, or it could happen the other way around, where a team falls down the order. So it's going to be interesting. Really got to be one to keep your eye on is the pace and how people improve.
yeah, of course. Yeah, I don't know what much else to add. We're starting now. There's 5 red lights for the Mystery Grand Prix of CSS. It's lights out and away we go. Rens Thomassen getting off the line nice and quickly. Loads of smoke in the background. Multiple position changes, but it looks like to be Rens Thomassen who will be keeping the lead going into turn 1. But Azam is being attacked by Wiener into that position. Ghost King moves up to P4. Same with Acid into P6. Gatkowski stays in 5th, but Renz Tomasson is keeping ahead, followed by Azam and TTM Wiener. Very close battles as well. After the first DRS straight, loads of battling behind. Damien Curiel as well involved in multiple little battles. Looks like the Mercedes is sending it on K Gatkowski though. IRT Fleddy moving up into 6th position ahead of Gatkowski, and Damien Curiel as well in front of ET8 Jamie, but Karumi as well in 11th, but it's GT10 as well, 3rd and 5th, very impressing so far, but it's still an ET8 1-2 in the opening lap. It's still very close though, so anything can still happen. Ghost King is still trying to make a move on Azam as well, trying to get ahead of both ET8s and get back into this championship fight. Same with Acid on Wiener. A bit of fighting in the background as well, side by side going into the final corner. Ghost King and Azem. Ghost King does take 2nd place away from him though. Ghost King looks to be very confident on this track. Acid as well, the GT10 team, look to really enjoy this track.
Yeah, they started on the soft compound tyres, and now GT10 are in the lead of the race, and it could even be a 1-2 in a moment as Acid battles there with Renz Tomasson, and on the exit, it's GT10 1-2, the team that no one thought was serious, that everyone thought was a bit of a fluke. They're now leading 1-2 in a Grand Prix. They started on the soft tyres, sure, but look at the way they're pulling away already as well from Renz Tomasson. Over half of 10th already. That gap is only going to open up as the laps go on as well. We've got 3 people who pit at the end of the first lap. That's Finlay, Mario, and Nam. So all 3 of those had to pit, unfortunately, but lap 2 of 29, GT10, 1 and 2, ET8, 3 and 4. Penny for the thoughts of CPI. They've lost a lot of places.
Yeah, I was rooting for, well, not rooting, but expecting CPI to be really doing well off the start, but they have only moved back, and Damien Curiel has been moving forward. Nick is involved in something behind, though. What's happened to him? Might have been involved in an incident up ahead. He has lost around 10 positions. But let's look ahead. GT10, of course, as you said, nobody expected them to really be showing themselves off, but the French team is really ahead, 1 and 2 for them, as Acid does take fastest lap with a 29.9. They are both battling though, but it looks like it's a bit of teamwork to try and keep ahead of this. Renz Tomasson as well, trying to fight back to get back into his top 2 positions. Nick does in fact retire from the session, so must have been involved in an incident earlier on in the lap, but it is both GT10s, the French duo, in 1st and 2nd, followed by Renz Tomasson and Azam in 3rd and 4th, Wino in 5th, Fleddy in 6th, and K Gatkowski started 5th, moves down to 7th, and ET8 Jamie as well, who started, I'm pretty sure 7th, has moved down 2 positions. Damien Curiel also doing well for that TF10 team, but I mean, we can see some of the early drivers who look to be the fastest here. Both GT10s looking really quick. Same with Renz Tomasson, but it looks like there's a bit of team play, exactly how we saw with TTM last week, trying to extend that gap to make sure Renz Tomasson does not get Renz Tomasson to not get DRS on Acid. Very intriguing race so far. What do you think of the first 3 laps?
Yeah, it's interesting to see the way that Ghost King has sacrificed himself for the benefit of his teammate Acid here, as you see the gap between the pair of them at 1.8 now. So really opening that gap up as much as possible, with expecting Fleddy to maybe make an overtake here, but Wiener sets his sights more on Azim as opposed to having to look behind for the driver on the medium compound tyres, as there's going to be a couple changes of position here as Renz Tomasson nearly goes to the overtake there on Ghost King. Can't make that work. Wiener was going to try the overtake on Azim, couldn't make that work either. So these drivers are really having to scrap it out as Renz Thomason gets himself up into second place. There's contact between GT10 Ghost King and Azam there, and that's resulted in wing damage for ETA and Azam. Unfortunately, that's going to be a detriment to performance for them. That is not going to help the red mist in the cockpit for Azam, and it's not looking good if you're rooting for ET8 to get a heap load of points, because that wing is definitely going to likely need a change.
Yeah, definitely. Front wing damage has got a huge effect, especially in this game. One slight front wing damage, you might even be losing up to a second every single lap, especially in grids this close. Losing a second a lap is not really good. So replacing that front wing might be his best option if he doesn't want to lose too much time, but it's still Acid 2 seconds ahead. Finley gets a 3-second penalty behind. He's an 18th. I'm pretty sure in that little train of the 3 drivers, but it's still Acid out in front, 2 seconds ahead of Renz. Thomason Ghosting will be trying to fight back to make it a GT10 1-2. Who would have guessed that in this race?
Absolutely not me, and he soars by down the main straight and back up into second place. But look at the scrap, it's 3 wide there as we head towards turn 1 between Renz Thomason, Azam and Wiener. That front wing damage clearly isn't doing much damage to Azam's race, because he's still racing as if he's not got any detriment to his performance here. He's running absolutely brilliant as he goes side by side with Wiener there through on the exit of Sector 2, but now he has to fall behind and nearly gets overtaken there by Fleddy, but beautifully able to hold it. But what does Fleddy do as he go down into turn number... Oh, and Finlay's out of the race. That's a yellow flag, and that's speeding in the pit lane, so that is a pit lane retirement for him. But these drivers, they are not holding back early on in the race. This could be a really interesting race here.
Yeah, very interesting. Finley does, in fact, retire from the race after having a very unfortunate start to the race. But as I've said earlier, GT10 look to really be showing themselves off as they mean business in this race. Now that Acid has increased that gap to nearly 3 seconds here, Ghost King still slowing down the rest of the pack. And as you said earlier, Azam still fighting there as he is being put under pressure by Fleddy going to the final corner. Fleddy does not make the move, so Azam still stays in 5th position, but TTM Wiener, he will be trying to make the moves on both GT10 cars and Renz Thomason, but it is Fleddy on the attack on Azam, and will he take the position? I'm not sure, but Renz Thomason also does take the position away from Ghost King. Fleddy does in fact take the position away from Azam, so maybe that front wing damage is harming him. Wiener and Ghost King also battling in the second DRS straight, but it looks like it's Ghost King staying ahead. Wiener finds a gap, he goes for it, he's down the inside, pushing as much of the track as they both possibly can. Still Ghost King up ahead though. Wiener trying to push as hard as he can to try and make a move here. Can he make it into this corner? No, he can't, he stays behind. Acid at 2.5 seconds ahead. Renz Thomason trying to fight to make it back into that top 2. But it's Ghost King now falling behind from Renz Thomason, which means he will not get DRS, and it gives Wiener the advantage going into this straight, as well as Fleddy as well. He's been having a really good race, overtaking Azam and possibly even Wiener soon onto the next straight, but it's still Ghost King up ahead as Renz is closing that gap to Acid by every single corner. As I say that, he's just gained 2/10 to him. Ghost King is now nearly 2 seconds away from Renz Thomason, so he will not be getting the DRS, which means he will be getting swarmed by Wiener and Fleddy, possibly even Azam as well with that front wing damage. But Azam, is he going to box soon for a new front wing, or is he going to stay out and play the long game?
Absolutely.
We will have to find out.
An easy overtake there for Wiener Fleddy as Ghost King falls to 5th. He might have been a king for a little while in this race, but how he has fallen as he's down to 6th there as gets overtaken by Azam. The soft's really going off for him. Or is this all part of the strategy and the play that GT10 are going for? You know, maybe lowering the pace a little bit, managing the tyres, trying to build a bit of a window for when it comes to pitting, or is there maybe a bit of underlying damage to the car? Because GT10 Acid not looking too bad out in front. You said that you know, Rens Thomason was closing, but the gaps stabilised a little bit here. And now IRT Fleddy is probably trying to set his sights on the man in front, Rens Thomason, but he's going to have a bit of pressure behind from the hard tyre runners. We are on lap 7, so the softs are starting to go off, and the mediums will follow in the next couple of laps or so. So the hard tyres are beginning to become that tyre of choice and have the better pace, but for the time being, those mediums do seem to be working in the hands of IRT Fleddy, but for how much longer, and for how much longer will GT10 Acid be out in front as Rens Thomason continues to try and chase?
Yeah, he might be the ghost of a king on track, but he might be a king for the team of GT10, doing absolute God's work for his teammate Acid, holding up everyone, and Rens is, as you said, stabilised that gap out, as Fleddy has lost multiple positions due to the DRS, as Wiener gets promoted to 3rd place. Asm also trying to make his way up to 4th. Slight little bit of contact, pushed off track Asm is, but he does make the move done. Fleddy still side by side with him though. He can try and make the move into this corner. He does make it, and he does finish the move off. TTM Wiener has stuck ahead. Rens Thomason still cannot close that gap between him and Acid. Wiener is 2 seconds behind, as K Gatkowski is also trying to get involved in some of the crumbs of that overtake, as he moves up to 5th place as well. And Asm, the damage is really showing for him, and it's not really helping him in this race. But Fleddy as well, just want to say he has had a pretty good race so far for that IRT team, for international racing team, should I say. K Gatkowski as well, he's fought back after a poor start. He might be one of the faster drivers out here. From what I've seen, he's done vast majority of the races for CPI, but that gap has closed slightly between Acid and Rens, and the gap between Wiener and Rens has increased. So, who do you think can win this? Do you think Acid can still win this? He goes into the pits very early trying to get the overcut done, which promotes Rens Thomason to the provisional race lead. K Gatkowski does make it into 3rd position ahead of IRT Fleddy. Now he's set his sights on TTM Wiener. So do you believe that undercut strategy is the good strategy to play, or do you think will it be some of the medium runners?
It'll be interesting to see. There's yellow flag in Sector 1. I believe there's been contact involving someone. It might have been ET8 Jamie there, who's had a bit of a moment of contact there in Sector number 1. Couldn't quite see who specifically, but it will be interesting to see. I mean, the undercut could definitely work for GT10. Both of their drivers have ditched those soft compound tyres, gone onto a set of hards. It'll just be about how quickly they're able to get them up to temperature, as IRT Fleddy has a real rear-end moment on the exit of turn number 10. You know, but now these drivers who are on the halves, they can just run their own race. They haven't got to worry about drivers on a faster compound, other than those on the mediums, who again will be coming in within those next couple of laps. So, you know, they haven't really got to worry too much. They can run their own pace and run fairly comfortably here. But Gatkowski, 2 green sectors on this lap, could be looking to try and make himself a move ahead of TTM Wiener and get himself setting after maybe Rens Thomason.
Yeah, possibly. He has had a really good comeback, as he does get the move done on Wiener with the assistance of DRS. Now he's chasing down the ETA driver of Rens. So it might be K Gatkowski who might even win this. He might go all the way. He has shown really good pace the past few laps. Those hards really, he is getting really to grips with those hard tyres, the Polish driver. But still, TTM Wiener just behind him. So it will be K Gatkowski who is on the wrong foot, as he will be losing DRS, while Wiener will be gaining DRS. Asm's still in 5th place, still with that front wing damage, also suffering from the understeer and stuff like that. But it's still Rens Thomason who is a whole 2 seconds ahead, sorry. But the driver who boxed from the lead of the race, where is he? Acid is in 14th currently, ahead of his teammate Ghost King, who I believe also boxed. So it's a very early stop for both GT10 drivers, as Renz is still ahead, but that gap is slowly closing, corner by corner, lap by lap.
Indeed, it very much is, and it's interesting to see just how much that gap is closing. Only a couple of tenths, but they do add up as we go through. And I mean, Gatkowski, you can see it just that little bit closer, and if he works closely with those behind, as he will swap places with Wiener down the straight, as you know, and if they work together, you know, they can catch up to Rans Thomason at a very quick rate if they collaborate, I suppose, in a sense. But be wary of the man who's in 14th right now, because, you know, he's only, as things stand, 20 seconds behind. And, well, the estimated pit lane lost time is about 22 seconds. So at the moment, if everyone else was to pit, he would still be leading this race. So, really interesting to see that they have to hope that the overcut strategy works out for them in the form of Rens Thomason and Wiener and all of those other drivers, because at the moment, Acid will still be out in front.
Of course, Renz is still ahead though. That gap has stayed fairly neutral over the course of this lap, but Wiener is actually ahead of Kay Gatkowski, which I failed to notice. But still, it looks to be a battle between Wiener and Kay Gatkowski. Fleddy also trying to pick up some of the scraps through there. But of course, you have got many different tyre strategies here. You've got the hard and you've got the medium here. So yeah, it's still up to the drivers to see what strategies they take, but knowing the sturdiness of the hards in this game, those hards can probably last to the end from now, so maybe the undercut can work, but maybe it could be the overcut that is much more reliable. But I think for Fleddy, those medium tyres are starting to go away from him, and as he's starting to, you know, lose grip with those tyres, so he might be boxing within the next couple laps. Jerome loses 2 positions as well, from 10th to 12th, and I think there's an incident back there as well, including Jerome.
Does seem that there's been a bit of an incident involving Jerome, unfortunately, as Acid and Ghost King gain that place, and they've gained a bit of time to OVR Lucas in that one, so we can only guess that it's involved both of those, and there is a flashing yellow flag in Sector 1. Noticing that Azam's lost nearly lost a place briefly to Karumi, lost it again, gained it back again, sorry, but really struggling a little bit, I think, with that wing damage, unfortunately for him, as he just seems to be really not getting the best out of this race now that he's got that little bit of damage. He's nearly a second back from Fleddy here, as we'll go down this straight, and he's just out of that 1 second window, so it doesn't look like he's going to get DRS in that battle for 4th place anymore, and that could be a big gap beginning to open up there as he doesn't get DRS. Fleddy comes into the pit lane as well, so that's not going to help the chances of anyone else who overtakes him getting into that 1 second window of the car ahead, as Karumi and Tales absolutely eat Azem for dinner and try to set their sights on Wiener, but that gap to DRS is over 1.2 seconds. It's going to be difficult, as Gatkowski and Wiener have really caught up to the back of Rens Thomason here.
Indeed, very good so far to see Kay Gatkowski really catch up to Rens. I was not expecting to that this early. I was expecting to see it after the pit stops, but of course the pit stops are still yet to come for all these drivers. I do see actually Jerome in the background going into the pits off those hard tyres. So interested to see how that will pan out for him. He's probably the first to box off those hard tyres onto the medium tyres. So Kay Gatkowski as well within DRS range of Rens, as same with Wiener and Karumi also getting quite ahead. So how do you think this will turn out? Also, 1 second.
Well, I think it's going to be really interesting. I'm looking on board with Tales at the moment, and I mean, Karumi and Tales, they're going to have to work together here if they want a chance at contesting for this race win, or they've got to pull a bit of a different strategy here, because they're 2.6 adrift from the current top 3 provisionally as things stand here. It's not going to be easy for them at all, as Thales almost dummies a bit of a move there down the inside, doesn't commit to it, and his teammate Damien Corelli behind. Surely they're going to be working together, those two, to try and get the best for them and their team. Because every team here dearly would love some more points, as Ghost King overtakes IRT Fleddy off an old set of hard tyres versus a new set. So clearly the tyres taking a couple laps to warm up here as IRT Fleddy in the battle for what is 13th and 12th at the moment. Loses out for the moment, but he's got an opportunity to get back into that place in a couple of moments' time, because there's so many DRS zones, there's so many opportunities. You never know when you can make a move here. IRT Mario has retired. I cannot see where that was. That's a pit lane retirement for ILD Mario and Jerome as well. Coming around that final bend, I did wonder if he would retire in the pit lane when it came to him, but he decided not to. The top 3 as things stand: Rens Thomason, K Gatkowski, and TTM Wiener as things stand. But when does one of these top 3 come into the pit lane? Because they can't run on these hard tyres forever, and the current gap is 18 seconds between GT10 Acid and K Gatkowski as things stand, as they swap places once again. And it turns out the pit lane lost time isn't 22 seconds, it's 25. So, at the moment, GT10 Acid has about an 8-second window on the other side of this pit stop in which he's going to have to defend. So at the moment, it does look like that undercut is working nicely for GT10, but will it stay that way come the checkered flag? That is kind of the main question, I suppose, at the moment. By the way, Damien Corelli now ahead of his teammate Thales, clearly trying to work together as much as they can, but a 4-second window between the top 3 and the 2 Williams cars at the
TF10.
moment for TF10. Yeah, it's going to be really difficult for them.
Yeah, of course. K Gatkowski in the lead, followed by Rens Thomason. K Gatkowski, as I've said, has really been doing well with this race. I went and came back, and still none of the hard runners have boxed. So, using some of my engineering experience, I would guess they would start coming on either this lap or next lap, or maybe even the lap after. Definitely not this lap. So, around lap 16 to 18, I would assume they would be coming in, as Rens Thomason right behind K Gatkowski. He pulls over to the right and he goes down the inside. He makes the move done. K Gatkowski also being pressured by Wiener. Wiener does take second place away from K Gatkowski, so it's a very close battle between the top 3. But of course, the undercut of GT10 might also work here. WR Jerome, who isn't actually at WR, he is at Aversio, gets a 3-second penalty. But Azam also in 4th, he still hasn't boxed off his front wing damage, but he has lost 4 seconds from the front, so might be a bit worse for Azam, as yeah, Rens Thomason still in the leads. I will be expecting Acid to take the lead again once the front runners do indeed box. So it's Rens Thomason followed by Wiener, K Gatkowski and Azam, then the 2 TF10 drivers of Tails BR and Damien Curiel round out the top 6.
Yeah, absolutely. It's looking really good here on lap 16 of 29. If you're just joining us here for the race here in Bahrain, it was a mystery round. The drivers found out earlier, well, the other day, what we were racing at, but Thales has got himself ahead of Azam there. But now the battle for P1 continues to liven up once more. Still no hard tyres boxing, but Wiener will go around the outside there into turn number 1 and get himself comfortably ahead of Rens Thomason now, as the pair do continue to battle. And Azam gets himself back ahead of Damien Corelli, but I'm sure he's going to have something to say about that as he gets himself back up into that P4 spot. Azam now has to try and search for answers and get back into that place. He's really struggled on that wing damage. He's really having to use every bit of that DRS to his advantage to try and keep in that window, and he's definitely been struggling.
Yeah, those hard tyres have been stretched a lot of this race, so as I've said before, I would be expecting them to box either this lap or next lap, as I've said earlier. But it's Damien Curiel who has done pretty well in this race to fight back from where I believe he started around 10th, if I'm not mistaken, pushing all the way up to 4th in this race. Azam as well, having one unfortunate race, being involved in an incident fairly early on, getting front wing damage. Jerome, in fact, retires from the session. Kay Gatkowski is trying to make a couple moves. He makes a move on Renz going into the final corner, but he does not make the move on Wiener just yet. He will be getting a DRS on Wiener on this next straight. So Wiener is on the back foot as Renz and Kay Gatkowski make it 3 wide here. Kay Gatkowski takes the lead. Renz Tomasson and Wiener. Wiener looks to stay ahead going into the second DRS zone, but now Kay Gatkowski's on the back foot for this next lap. But that's in total 4 retirements now, which is much more than I saw in the race that I commentated earlier today. But it's the TF10 team who are actually doing pretty well. EXT as well, trying to capitalise on Azam's misfortune. But also Jamie as well, he's a whole 3 seconds behind. I'm quite interested to see how much he can gain of that every single lap so we can actually judge how slow Azam is with that front wing damage. But it's still Kay Gatkowski, the Polishman, in first position.
Absolutely, Gatkowski doing a phenomenal job out in front at the moment with Wiener in second. Renz Tomasson looking nice in third. TF10 with Tales and Damien Corral in fifth. Karumi in sixth. Azam seventh. Jamie eighth. And then GT10 Acid in ninth, who, by the way, last time around set a purple sector 1. So really interesting to see. And the gap between him and P1 is 14.2. at the moment. So clearly these drivers who are on the hards at the moment must be thinking about a change to the soft compound tyre. No doubt about it. And that's maybe where they're going to be able to gain all of this time that they're currently losing, because at the moment they are going to be behind by about 10 seconds or so as they go 3 wide into turn 3. Sorry, who was that who instigated all of that? Because that was very dangerous indeed as Wiener gets very close up to the back of Gatkowski. Doesn't go for the dive into turn number 8 as we get a lovely helicopter cam of this trio going around the circuit. The next car behind them is 5.4 seconds away. But after this second round of pit stops for, well, the first round of pit stops for many of these drivers up at the front, it's going to be interesting to see how things pan out from there. But as things stand, Renz Tomasson does hold that lead, but there's a lot of moving in this field and there's a lot of opportunity for change and error, and we haven't had a safety car or anything like that yet, so who knows what could happen. But interestingly, you know, very like you would expect in Bahrain, there is no rain.
Yeah, I mean, this track is in the desert. We are seeing the first drivers go into the pits, the front 3 all going into the pits. I'm quite impressed, actually. They managed to last these hard tyres all the way 20 laps, especially at a track like this, which does promote both TF10 drivers into first and second. They're all going onto the softs, as you predicted correctly, apart from Kay Gatkowski, who is sticking at medium to be nice and safe. But that means they have lost a lot of advantage, and as I have said earlier, GT10 Acid has really capitalised from that round of pit stops, and he's all the way up to 5th position a whole, I believe, if I do my maths correctly, around 10 seconds ahead of the front runners. So very interested to see how this race pans out.
Yeah, about 9 seconds, the gap between GT10 Acid and Rens Thomason at the moment. Maybe Ghost King could once again try and hold up those drivers to try and advantage his teammate. I mean, we saw it, during the first round. Can it happen again? Maybe for Ghost King. Certainly wouldn't be too unexpected if that was to happen. But also IRT Fleddy as well. Nicely, pit a bit earlier on in this race. Nicely in that as well. So these two drivers in IRT Fleddy and Ghost King could provide a really nice buffer for GT10 Acid to get a great result out of this and take a win home for the team. And that could be quite something. There's a couple green and purple sectors for those drivers on the soft compound tyres. That's to be expected. But to see how quickly that gap will fall will be the thing on everyone's mind. As Tales and Azam into the pit lane, they're going to come out well behind all of these drivers. Acid up to third now, only 4.9 off the race lead. But we know he's going to get that back because those two out in front still yet to pit. But Rens Thomason now only 3 seconds off the back of Ghost King. And then a further 4 seconds ahead is GT10 Acid. So only about 7 seconds in it now after one lap. That gap is closing quick.
Yes, Damien Curiel really stretching those hard tyres as far as he can. Might not be the most ideal of strategies to go this far on the hard tyres. Might not have enough time on those soft tyres to get back into the groove of things. But it is Acid, who is far ahead of the newly pitted drivers out who were ahead. But I'm still rooting for Rens to win this race. I don't think Aston will be able to manage those hards well enough to keep on the similar pace with the softs and the mediums as Rens Thomason sets the purple sector 2. So he might be on for not pole position, fastest lap here. This is not qualifying. But Acid is currently running in 3rd place after he was one of the first drivers to get into the pits. So yeah, Damon Curiel and Jamie both going into the pits. Rens Thomason does in fact take fastest lap with a 28.9, which does promote now Acid and Fleddy into the front 2 positions, but that gap is closing between Rens, Kagatkowski, Wiener and the rest of the front 3. So, who do you think will win now going into the final 5 or so laps of this race? Who do you think will win?
I haven't got a clue. I'm looking at the time. You can see there the battle for P3, how that time has absolutely crumpled. It was 1.3. Surely not an overtake into turn number 8. He's got around the outside. Take a bow, Rens Thomason. What a move. Wow. That was a sensation. Sure, those hard tyres are worn, but Rens Thomason made it look like there was something wrong with Ghost King's car. The way he sailed around the outside of that GT10. I mean, surely that is going to be of real worry to IRT Fleddy, who is now going to see himself overtaken, probably in a similar fashion. Or, in only a couple of moments' time, and Acid is surely going to be hearing that from his teammate as well about how quickly he is falling and tumbling on these worn tyres as we go through the final bend. And Rens Thomason, 2.5 tenths is the gap. It's going to be no contest at all. You might as well give up if your name's IRT Fleddy, because by the time we reach turn 1, Rens Thomason's about 2-3 tenths ahead of you. And now Rens Thomason in clean air, 2.5 seconds the gap. He's got to get that P1 spot.
Yes, Rens is only 2 seconds behind Acid. So Acid has really got to put the defending on, and he's got to get his elbows out, similar to defending like Sergio Perez, for example. So that gap already in that second sector has decreased by around ½ second. So very interested to see. It's a matter of if not sorry, it's a matter of when, not if, at this rate, as Acid might not have the grasp at the win as he did at the start of this race. But Ghost Key has gone all the way from third position to sixth, and Fleddy has gone from second all the way down to fourth. So those hard tyres are definitely much slower than the soft and the medium tyres of some of the front runners earlier in this race. So now that gap has been reduced to just less than a second. So I think it's just next lap when Renz gets the move done on Acid, but you never know with Acid. He can try and defend as much as he physically can. Renz right behind Acid. Can he make the move? He probably won't be able to make it into turn one unless he makes an absolute diabolical send, which he doesn't. Locking up into that first corner. That gap has closed so much within that braking zone. Going into the second DRS straight. DRS open. He moves over to the inside. It's side by side. Going into turn 4, he makes the move done, and he makes it look easy for that ET8 team.
Absolutely, exactly what he would have wanted, and now Acid will act as a bit of a buffer, I think, maybe between himself and TTM Wiener, because he's pulling away very nicely. Will Acid remain in that 1 second window? If he can, it might act as a little bit of solace and help for him in this race. I'm not quite sure if he's managed to keep that DRS. He has just about managed it, so Acid has got a little bit of a helping hand, I suppose, down this straight, just to keep him within that 1 second window, just that little bit longer, but not for long, as now Wiener's already within 1 second again of GT10 Acid, and that gap is only going to tumble more and more. But remember, those soft tyres, they will begin to lose a bit of pace in maybe the next 2 or 3 laps. So just because Acid at the moment hasn't got the pace to win the race doesn't mean it's going to stay that way, because these softs will evaporate just like water does in the desert heat here in Bahrain. And with only a few laps remaining, definitely things are heating up even more.
Indeed, Wiener is a bit slidey with his rear going into turn 1, which makes him lose a little bit of time to Acid, but Acid somehow has made that gap less than a second, so maybe those softs are starting to fall off a bit, so maybe Acid can still hang on to those podium positions, but Ghost King, his teammate, unfortunately has dropped all the way down to 6th position. But Acid here, it's just a matter of if he can really defend for these next couple laps. Renz looks to be increasing the gap just slightly, going through the windy section of Sector 2. Now going onto the DRS straight, Wiener has definitely closed that gap a lot more than he was earlier. So I think going into this next corner, he might be able to make the move. He doesn't make the move, actually. Probably Acid is burning his DRS like anything. But it's Renz Twassen now 1.5 seconds ahead, and as I've called it, he is looking to win the race.
Wow, yeah, TTM Wiener doing a really good job at the moment to try and apply that pressure onto GT10 Acid, but, you know, there's still a bit of a window for, you know, Acid to maybe win this race, a bit of an outlier's chance maybe, but, you know, anything is possible. We've only got a couple of laps remaining in this race, but Wiener down the straight comfortably up into second place for TTM, as it's a 3-wide moment there as Gatkowski tries to put the pressure onto TTM Wiener there, as now GT10 maybe might fancy his chances as a compromised exit for Gatkowski has arisen, but those medium compound tyres will be looking in a better shape than his hards. But those softs will certainly be beginning to fall a little bit now, as Gatkowski really is mounting that pressure on to TTM Wiener at the moment. But IRT Fleddy not doing a bad job either. 4th, 5th and 6th for the drivers who did that opposite strategy. Not bad for them at all. It's definitely worked quite well for them. A good haul of points if these are the positions they take away. But they maybe might have wanted a bit more and hoped those tyres went off just that little bit sooner. But, as I said, a lot of time for things to change still.
Yes, of course. I mean, Renz Tomasson has increased that gap much more, so I think the win is just to be taken now. Just drive consistently, and he wins. TTM Wiener also second and third for K Gatkowski, but Acid still trying to hang on to try and possibly get a move for the podium positions. He might be a bit too far away to consider it, but now is just the fight between the three hard runners left in this race. Who can be the fastest of the hard runners? K Gatkowski makes a move for second position into turn one. IIT, Fleddy and Acid also battling as well. Fleddy gets a short end of the straw there, staying in fifth position, but that has made Acid lose the DRS to the top three. So Acid might not be able to get back into that podium position, but let's not forget, this is a very good result for the GT10 team. Nobody was expecting them to be fighting possibly even for a win if it wasn't for this interesting strategy here. But still, Wiener and K Gatkowski for P2. I think Renstomatten is secured to win here unless he has a really big mistake here and somehow manages to lose the win, which, knowing Renstomatten, is very unlikely. Fleddy as well, trying to make a move on Acid once again. Can't get the move done going into the third sector, but now there's only 2 laps left to go after this one. So who do you think can fill in that podium position? Who do you think will get second, Byron?
Well, something that's interesting to note here is the current situation in terms of warnings. We mentioned the possibility of a mistake from Rens Thomason. Maybe he's not the one who should be worrying about a mistake. It's the man in second, Gatkowski. 2 warnings to his name, 1 more, and he picks up a penalty. And if he picks up a penalty, he could drop quite a few places off the podium and possibly down to 5th. Or, you know, it could even possibly, well, probably not going to be 6th place, looking at the gap between the pair of them, but yeah, it would be really interesting if Gatkowski was to lose the place via a penalty, because at the moment, 1 warning, and that is it for him in this race. But Wiener has been really applying the pressure to Gatkowski. These tyres seem to be a little bit equalised on pace at the moment, but as we know, those softs are only going to get weaker and those mediums only stronger. But only 2 laps to go. Going to be interesting to see what happens between these two, because there is not much time for these positions to change.
Yes, absolutely. That gap between Renz and K Gatkowski has increased to 3.5 seconds. I don't think there will be any debate on who will win this one. It has to be Rens Thomason. His ET8 teammate, of course, picking up all front wing damage, making it look from an ET8-1-2 to an ET8-1-9, unfortunately, which might make the ET8 team lose the grip on the championship. But I think team of the day, personally for me, has to be GT10 with how well they've done, both in qualifying and in the race. They must have really been practicing for this one. Yeah, also, the IRT team with Fleddy. Fleddy looks to be really quick as Wiener does make the move on K Gatkowski going into the first corner of the final lap of this race. But so far, who do you think is your team of the day and driver of the day, Byron?
I mean, team of the day has to be GT10, and, well, driver of the day, I think, is going to go to... GT10 Acid. Absolutely. I think he really has shone for GT10. He started behind his teammate, finishes ahead of his teammate. He's done everything that was asked for him. But what a race. We've had 29 laps of action. The gap out in front, 3 seconds from Rens Thomason to TTM Wiener, but there has got to be one final defense from TTM here, as they have to defend from K Gatkowski for one final time in this race. Only a couple of corners left to go as we head through turn 12 with your second and third place driver as things stand, but there could be a little bit of an opportunity for things to change as we go through into the final couple of bends. But there is no doubt about who has won this race, as they still try and battle Gatkowski and Wiener, but nothing to come of it. But Rens Thomason wins in Bahrain. Wiener in second and Gatkowski third. Fleddy fourth. GT10 Acid in fifth. Karumi in sixth. Azam in 7th, and then Ghost King in 8th, Thales 9th, Damien Carell in 10th place here, and OVR Lucas 11th, 12th for Seeb, Jamie in 13th, Pablo Ortiz in 14th here, and Nam will come across the line in 15th place when he reaches the line. But Rens Thomason, he took pole, he won the race, but it wasn't quite as simple as that. He really had to fight for it, even if he was on the slightly faster strategy.
Yeah, a very good race from Rens Thomason here. Very good drive as well, especially he managed those hard tyres really, really well here. You get that 3 second gap as well, trying to get those hard tyres, and he boxed exactly at the perfect moment that was needed, and really just made perfect use of the tyres and perfect use of the strategy. So, very good race, not only for Rennes, but as we have mentioned before, the GT10 team, who both of our team of the days today. So that's your podium, ladies and gentlemen. That is Rens Thomason in first place, followed by TTM Wiener in the McLaren outfit, and the Polishman of K. Gatkowski for the CPI team. But with ET8 having a win, but the other driver not having the best of races, that could weaken ET8's grip on the championship. It might not though, considering TTM and CPI's also two drivers didn't do that well. But let's take a look at the full grids, well not grid, finishing order. Got Rens Thomason, who won by 3 whole seconds, followed by TTM Wiener and K. Gatkowski, as I've already mentioned in this race. RT Fleddy in 4th place for International Racing Team. GT10 Acid, personally my driver of the day, and Byron's driver of the day, in 5th place, followed by Karumi for EXT in 6th place. Azum for the ET8 team didn't have the best of races, getting front wing damage early on. Ghost King as well in 8th. Thales in 9th. Damien Curiel in 10th for the TF10 team. OVR Lucas in 11th. IRT Seeb in 12th. ILD Pablo Ortiz in 13th. And I have forgotten the rest of the drivers. So, what a race we have witnessed here. Multiple battles, multiple just everything. Luckily, not that many incidents that I can recall from the top of my head. So,
No,
yeah,
I
just
mean,
very good race.
very clean, very good racing, very good action. I mean, couldn't ask for anything more. It's as calm and good of a race as you could have expected. I mean, plenty of action, plenty of good racing. I mean, what more could you want? Maybe a safety car, but we didn't need a safety car. There was action pretty much everywhere you looked. There was not a moment where I thought this race was getting a bit dull or boring. It was pretty much action the entire way through. 29 laps of it. And well, the outcome might have been a bit predictable if you look at qualifying, but how he got there was not quite a smooth sailing or easy. You know, he did have to fight for it a little bit. So definitely good to see.
Yeah, and as I've mentioned, very good strategy. The hard to soft strategy looked to really prevail here as one of the better strategies here. The I think medium, soft hard. I think didn't really work as well as possibly GT10 or IRT Fleddy had anticipated. Very good race. GT10 also really getting back into the groove of the championship as well. Versio not having the best of races as well. Jamie also retiring after he finished the race, so I'm not sure if that'll count as however many points he finished with, or if it'll count as a retirement for him. I'm not sure, but very good race, very clean, very action-packed. Lots to unpack from that race. So, yeah, what are your thoughts on this race?
I mean, it was a great race. So much kind of just action. I mean, real obviously standout was Grand Track 10. Such a good race for them. Got real solid haul of points. For them, maybe not as many as they might have hoped, but they still got some good points, and I think that's real good for a team like them. They're 6th in the standings, so every point matters for them. They've only got 70 of them. If they want to get up towards, TTM, TF10, Team Exeter, that are up there at the moment, just over 100 points, they've got to have these good races, and they really showed that they're in for that fight and in for that battle today. CPI, good race for them. Maybe not quite as maybe they'd hoped. Only one driver up there with Gatkowski, but still they can take a good result out of there. But then a lot of the teams that should be up there, such as ET8, TTM, CPI, and even IRT, right? They were all had one driver up there, and the other one was retired or quite low down. So a great opportunity for teams like GT10 to gain quite a good haul of points. So really great. I think one of the teams that, maybe really went under the radar was TF10. We thought they were on a good strategy. At one point they were leading. 9th and 10th isn't where they would have want to finish, though. Not ideal for them, unfortunately, and they'll definitely be looking to try and bounce back, I think, next round.
Still very decent points, 9th and 10th. I mean, in actual F1, it will be only 3 points in total, but in here, points go all the way down to, I believe, 15th off the top of my head.
15th.
So, yeah. So, points still all right. Not really talked about in this race. They were just sitting there, getting moves done when they needed to. Getting moves done when they needed to. Damien Curiel's stretching those hard 21 laps, which is quite impressive, honestly. I hope everyone at home enjoyed the race. I personally did. I hope you did, Byron, as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. Such a great race. You couldn't have asked for anything better. And, in terms of where we are, in terms of the future rounds, we have the Netherlands next time out a week from now. Then we have a break week, an opportunity for a bit of a mid-season refresh. Maybe for a couple new drivers to enter the fold, and it's a bit of training maybe for these drivers that need a bit of a maybe pace and performance boost. Then we've got Belgium, Qatar, Las Vegas, another mystery GP like we had tonight, then Hungary and Japan to round out this season. We're running up until November here, we've got so much between now and then to look forward to. And in terms of other tiers, we've got plenty going on in terms of our other tiers as well. Tomorrow, I believe we've got Xbox going, or is it PC tomorrow? I have not got a clue which one it is.
It will be Xbox.
Xbox tomorrow, and then on September 4th, you have got PC when they head to the Netherlands, and the following day, no, not the following day, on the 6th. No, what is this? Someone's done the dates on the calendar wrong. Someone's done the days wrong. That's why I'm confused. The 15th of September, a week from now, that is when we head to the Netherlands. Whoever's done that graphic wrong, I know exactly who they are. I'm going to find them, because that is quite embarrassing. But, final thoughts on that race, Domsy, before we round off.
Yeah, very good race, very entertaining. Loads of moves, loads of battles, loads of different strategies as well, which all goes together to make a really good race. Loads of different strategies, as I've said. Hards to mediums, hards to softs, hards to mediums to hards, mediums to soft. No, not mediums to softs. But you get what I mean. Loads of different strategies here, and also really good for everything.
Yeah, I mean, it really was such a good race, but I want to thank everyone who's watched with us today and had a brilliant race with us alongside us and enjoyed everything that's happened on track. We've had an amazing race, so many talking points as we head into our next round at the Netherlands. I hope you enjoyed some of the new graphics and things that we've cooked up between rounds 4 and 5. But until next time, when Competitive Speed Series returns, until then though, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.